Hi guys, this is Hard Times Create Strong Men. I'm going to go over chapter 1 and 2. Basically, the author makes a point in chapter 1, Hard Times Create Strong Men, that we live in a current generation that is full of weak men, namely because we live in good times. And he makes that point because he's creating this dialogue and comparison between the men of this generation and the one from the previous generation, and how it all falls into a cycle that he sees in declining and rising nations. When you have a rising nation that works towards prosperity, you start off with a nation that is going through hard times. Now, what he refers to with his grandmother's generation, they went through the Great Depression and World War II. Okay, so during this time, young men ages 15, 16, 17 signed off on draft documents to fight the good fight, to protect their country. They went on boats and engaged in combat, and some experienced very traumatic pain or even unaliving in the name of protecting their country and their rights and their freedom. They did not want invaders to come in and strip them of their freedom, their rights, and their future. So they fought. This is the strong men generation that he spoke of. And because they were strong and they fought for their country, that led to a nation becoming far more wealthier. Fighting the good fight, I mean, America in particular, they grew into a very strong nation after World War II because they were exporting a lot of goods to nations that needed metal weaponry and the such. So because of that, it was basically America profited a lot from the war and in engaging in the war and winning the war. They put a lot of sanctions and tariffs on Germany, the ones who lost the war, stopping them as a great world threat and as a great world economy and competitor. So that's an example. I mean, other examples are how America even started. It started as a band of Brits who were sick and tired of it being mistreated by their government. Yeah, so they banded together, they left on boats, sailed to America, established themselves, colonized, and fought against the British Navy, boarding and coming into America. And, you know, the rest is history. I mean, same thing for Rome. Before it rose to a great nation, it was a band of tribes who then fought other tribes, expanded the territory, and then came together and became a great nation because they were all young men who did not want to continue existing in a reality that did not serve their best interests. So that's the point that this author is making. We have young men now who are not interested or who are scared to voice their opinion, band together, and to work together to build a stronger community that reflects the values of the greater population and the wants, the needs of the common people. You know, we have a lot of men here who are distracted by whether it be social media, gaming, adult content, who are satisfied with that. So they're given the bread and the circus show and satisfied, living in their mediocre existence. So that's what the author gets into in chapter 1. Chapter 2, he gets into, it's titled, "A Man's Purpose is His Work. You are not a unique and beautiful snowflake." Okay, so what does he mean by that? Well, he really gets into his own personal stories. So he shares that growing up, he did have a father, but he wasn't truly a father figure. That's one side of the story. There's another side of the story where he talks about history as well. So let's talk about history, okay? You know, before the great, our current education system was put into place, the way education worked was there were families that had certain specific skill sets and trades that they were highly specialized in. So whether it be smithery, metalwork, glasswork, construction, whatever it may be, there were tradesmen who specialized in those trades. From there, if your father was not a specialist In the trade that you wanted to learn, you would go to another specialist and apprentice under them as a apprentice, right? You'll work within their trade, develop that skill set, and then become a specialist yourself and trade that skill in the local economy, whether it be trading that skill for barter trades, like whether it be a goat, a lamb, sheep, or whatever they wanted to barter and trade in their barter trade system. So that's how things were. Your identity was strongly linked to what you do, what your work was. So he brings that back to his own identity and his story with his father. Now, his father, he really didn't get into being a career-focused person. Long story short, he sold a dream to his mom that he would be the successful entrepreneur, pilot, and that was his dream. Want to be a successful entrepreneur and pilot. But long and behold, he was doing minimum wage jobs as a limousine driver, and when he did do pilot flights, they were below minimum wage, and he was in $100,000 in credit card debt. That was his father's story. And slowly yet surely, the mother, she was getting tired of the father's antics. She couldn't rely on him. He couldn't provide for her. And the story goes, like, women would rather be single than have an incompetent man in their life. So what naturally happened was she lost attraction for him. He begged for her to keep him, but she laughed it off and divorced him. Later in that story, the author himself, he has 2 multi-million-dollar companies with approximately 10 employees each, and the father comes around and he says, hey son, can you help me with, like, he went in a roundabout way asking for a job basically. And the author, the son, offered a shadow position so that the father could get started in the real estate business, but he wasn't really a very competent man in that at all. In the end, the son said, you can't continue doing this with your pilot. At the end of hours, you're in debt. You need to find a way to pay for this. You can't continue this incompetent life. Sort it out. Get a job, any job, even a job in fast food. And the dad was so ashamed. And that's the end of that conversation, right? Those are hard times. You create hard times if you're a weak man. Like, if you're not going to be competent and go through the hustle and tussle of actually committing yourself to building yourself up financially and in all other aspects of a man, that's going to create hard times. And it's typically weak men that create hard times. They don't see the bigger picture, and they're distracted by so-called, yes, dreams are important and great, but have your shit together too as you're going towards that goal. So that's the share in chapter 1 and 2. I appreciate you guys following along if you've gotten this far into the video. Peace out. Have a great day.